There is quite a scandal that unfolded last night. Early in the day yesterday, we got the news that Matt Gaetz, Republican congressman, was considering leaving Congress early for a job at Newsmax, the far-right news organization. And that's weird. Like, it's very rare that Congress people leave early. You know, it's one thing to leave after your term is up, but to talk about leaving midterm, that's very strange. So right away, there was a few red flags there. Like, really? You're gonna leave for a job in media midterm? And by the way, I don't know how stable Newsmax is, and I don't know how viable it is in the long term. So it seemed weird, seemed like a risk. Well, come to find out, later on in the same day, we get the news, according to the New York Times, that Matt Gaetz is being investigated for child sex trafficking. Now, it's actually a lot more complicated than that, because when I hear child sex trafficking, what I think of is like, you literally have like children with duct tape over their mouth and their hands tied, and they're in the back of a van, and you're, selling them into sex slavery or whatever. When I hear child sex trafficking, that's what pops up in my mind. Well, when you read the details of the story, what they really mean is, oh, he technically did child sex trafficking because they say he had a relationship with a 17-year-old girl who was that's underage, right? So he had a relationship with a 17-year-old girl, and he would pay for her to, whatever, fly somewhere, stay at a hotel. So that's what they mean. What they really mean is, I guess that would be statutory rape, right? If you have a sexual relationship with somebody who's underage. So she's 17, that's underage. If he had some sort of sexual relationship with her, I guess that'd be statutory rape. But that's what I mean. Like, the story's a little, like, there's definitely missing pieces in the story, because we don't know what else he's being investigated for and charged with. So this is a huge deal. Now, Matt Gaetz immediately, when this story breaks, wants to respond. He said a bunch of stuff on Twitter, but then he went on Tucker Carlson, and here was his response there.
Just a couple of hours ago, late this afternoon, the New York Times ran a story saying that Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is under federal investigation for playing some role in sex trafficking and potentially having a relationship with a 17-year-old girl. There are very few details in major news outlets tonight about this story. We have no background on it all, and not even any very informed questions. Instead, we've invited Congressman Gaetz on the show to respond to these stories and give us his view of them. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can look at my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their direction, which will prove my innocence and that will show that these allegations aren't true. They're merely intended to try to bleed my family out of money. And this former Department of Justice official tomorrow was supposed to be contacted by my father so that specific instructions could be given regarding the wiring of $4.5 million as a down payment on this bribe. I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight, somehow, the New York Times is leaking this information, smearing me, and ruining the investigation that would likely result in one of the former colleagues of the current DOJ being brought to justice for trying to extort me and my family.
Whoa. That sounds like the plot of a dramatic TV show. By the way, he ends up pissing off Tucker massively in that clip because he goes on to say, remember when you were falsely accused of sex crimes? And Tucker's like, what? So apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently like 20 years ago, somebody accused Tucker of something, and, he goes on to say, oh, some mentally ill person said something, I never even met the person. Whatever, I'm not going to get into it, but it's just sort of hilarious that Matt Gaetz is like machine gunning in every direction to try to save his ass. And he's like, these are false, and everybody who's falsely accused is a victim. Like when you were falsely accused, Tucker. He's like, what do you, I invite you on my show, and this is what you say? And he even goes on to say at one point, like, Tucker, remember when you and your wife had dinner with me and my wife? And he's like, oh, God, Jesus Christ, stop implicating me. Stop implicating me in whatever the hell's going on in your world. And so another point a lot of people are making is the weird story that broke maybe half a year ago about Nestor. Nestor is Matt Gaetz' adopted teenage son. And everybody's like, that's a little weird. You have an adopted teenage son. It just seemed very strange. And everybody was like eyebrow raising at that. Like, something's up. Something seems weird here. This doesn't seem... And then Matt Gaetz fired back over it and was like, how dare all of you say this? I love my adopted son. He's a huge part of my life. And so, listen, what actually occurred here? Like, what's he guilty of? Is he telling the truth about somebody trying to extort him? Obviously, I don't know. And obviously, nobody really knows. But what I will say is, I was talking about this the other day with somebody, and we're trying to figure out what Occam's razor is. And to the best of my ability, trying to break down what Occam's razor is. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically this idea that whatever the simplest explanation is, that's the reality. So you never need to make something more complicated or convoluted than what it appears to be in its simplest form. And so Occam's razor, in my opinion, is this. Matt Gaetz has something going on. Now, I don't know if whatever the thing is, I don't know if it's illegal or if it's like borderline legal, like barely legal, but also just really weird. It's either illegal or like legal, but really weird and something that any person in polite society would want to hide. It's one of those two things. Something's going on with him. Is it, that he dates women who are just legal? Possibly. Is it that he dates women that are a year too young? Possible. Is it that he's that he's like a swinger and he's got these fetishes and he's part of some underground community? Because apparently he also really defended Katie Hill when she was basically outed as a swinger and then she was slut-shamed, and he really came to her defense. So it could be that. I don't know. Something's going on, though. So there's some real thing happening. Now, in my opinion, if the thing is legal, then he should be defended on the grounds that it's legal. But if it's illegal, sorry, son, then you shouldn't be doing it, right? But I actually think that Occam's razor is not just that something's going on with him, but also that he's right that somebody is trying to shake him down for money and hold over his head whatever the thing is. You see what I'm saying? So somebody caught wind of the fact that he's either doing something that's illegal or like barely legal and embarrassing, and they are saying, hey, I'm gonna release the goods on everything unless you pay me X amount. And he's given specific dollar amounts. See, that's the thing. He's being so specific in what he's talking about that it's hard for me to imagine he made all of it up. You know what I mean? Talking about the wire. Oh, my dad wore a wire to try to bring these people down. This is how much money they're asking for. I'm demanding that they release the tapes and blah, 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 blah. So I actually think Occam's razor is something creepy's going on with him. It's either illegal or like barely legal but embarrassing. And somebody's trying to shake him down for money and threatening to release all of it. So I don't know, but hopefully we get more information on it and we get more information soon. But this is a crazy scandal. I don't know if I've ever seen a scandal this like almost fake seeming. Again, it seems like it's from like a dramatic TV show or something. So there you have it. And for the love of God, I hope somebody checks on Nestor. And somebody made a great point. They said, in his denial about the 17-year-old, he said, like, I've never traveled with the 17-year-old. That's totally made up by the New York Times. He doesn't say, I never had a relationship with the 17-year-old. He says, I never traveled. It's very carefully worded so as to not, I guess, lie about it. I don't know, dog, but I'll leave it up to you guys. I think the best question I could ask you guys is this, the same question I was pondering the other night. What do you think Occam's razor is? Because whatever you think Occam's razor is what you think, is what you should think is actually happening here. So I'll leave it up to you. Do you agree with my theory that something's going on, but we don't know exactly what it is, and then somebody is trying to extort him to hold that over his head, shake him down for money to continue hiding it? Is that what you think it is? Because that's the closest I can come to it, but what a weirdo. And oh my God, I feel terrible for Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna the other day was like, yeah, me and Matt Gaetz, I mean, we worked together on trying to end the wars, and we worked together on, whatever, fill in the blank, I guess legalizing marijuana, some shit. He's like, yeah, we work together on all that stuff, and he's my friend, and we hang out. Oh, sweet Jesus, Ro. Oh, God, Ro. Ro, what are you doing? They're going to come investigate you now, bro. And Tucker, too. They're going to go investigate Tucker. I love, by the way, after the Tucker clip, I don't have this part queued up, but after the Tucker clip, he does this hilarious, like, end of interview commentary where he's like, well, that was the weirdest interview I've ever done, and I don't think we learned anything. I think Gaetz sort of pissed off Tucker by bringing up, like, whatever accusations there were against Tucker, and by bringing up the fact that Tucker and his wife went to dinner with Gaetz and his wife or something. And Tucker, by the way, he was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He said that in the clip. Like, I don't remember that at all. Bro, let me find out there's some, and this is probably real as fuck, there's like some creepy underground swinger shit going on in DC among elites. That is the last place I would ever want to be. That's for sure.